Hi guys! Tonight I am showing you how to make this sunflower wreath out of burlap. So when I was looking for a video on how to do the sunflower burlap wreath, I wasn't able to find one that was using just the 5.5 or 6-inch burlap like these. So I created my own. So let's take a look at the supplies that you'll need. The first thing is a wreath frame. Now, I use this 14-inch wreath frame that I got from Dollar Tree because it's inexpensive and it makes a great sized wreath. A lot of the ones that I saw used 10-inch burlap on a 10-inch wide wreath, and they are beautiful as well. I needed something bigger because of the small size of the burlap I'm using. So again, 14-inch wreath, you can buy these any number of places. And then the inside, the center of the flower is actually going to be this little 8-inch wreath wreath frame that we're going to weave burlap in, and then we're going to plant that in the center, like the example that I showed you when we started. So that is what you'll need for the base of it. And then you're going to need your burlap. So I've posted all different colors of green, and this is the one I'm working with tonight. It's kind of an olive green and then a yellow. These rolls actually are from Walmart. I find their burlap to be stiffer, which is better for projects like this, and it's also they have much more vibrant colors than things that I've seen other places. So what I did is I took those two colors and I cut 2 rolls of yellow into 6-inch strips and 1 roll of the olive also into 6-inch strips. So this burlap is 5.5 inches by 15 feet. So 5.5 by 15. A lot of the other burlaps are 6 inches, same difference. It's not really that big of a deal. But I cut everything into 6-inch pieces, so it's roughly 5.5 by 6 is what you're going to end up with. If you have the 6-inch, obviously 6 by 6, that will work great as well. Then I cut a bunch of pipe cleaners, or chenille stems, whatever you feel like calling them. And I could not find the yellow in time to make the projects that I have orders for. So I just went ahead and used the white chenille stems. So I have a bunch of white here and a bunch of green. And we're going to be wrapping them around 2 of the rings at a time. So what I did is I just took them and cut them in half. So you're going to need a lot of these, and then you're going to do the white for the sunflower petals and the green for the leaves. It's all going to be kind of hidden, so you don't have to use these exact colors. I wouldn't use something like black with the yellow petals because that could show through. So try to find a light color. And then I have my sewing scissors for cutting the burlap. I have these wire snips, little wire snips from Harbor Freight that I'll use to cut the pipe cleaners. And then I'll use these snips from Harbor Freight as well, and they will be used to cut the zip ties. So we will use zip ties to attach the burlap to the center wreath, and then we'll use the larger zip tie to attach the center wreath to the outer wreath. Okay, so what we're going to do is get our pipe cleaners, the white ones or whatever light color you found, and get those attached to the wreath. So I'm going to use this example. I did a couple of sections just to show you guys. So the way I'm doing it is I have 9 pipe cleaner halves in each section. And I'm kind of staggering them because that gives the fullness. If you just line them up, it doesn't create this look. They look too perfect. So sunflower petals, of course, are staggered and kind of crisscross and pile on top of each other. So that's the look we're going for to make it really full. So you're going to do 9 pipe cleaners in each section, and the ones on the ends here will do double duty. So you're just doing that at first, And then, of course, we're not going to put another one right here in this next section. We're going to come over. But this is the gist of it. I've got 4 spaced out here, 2 staggered here, and then 3 staggered here. And you'll notice I'm grabbing 2 rings at a time. That keeps the pipe cleaners from sliding all over the place. So let's take a look and see how this works. So I just have my pipe cleaner. I've got 2 of the little rings here, and I'm going to pull it tight and give it a good couple twists, and that's it. It's attached to the 2 rings back there. Leave these sticking up. We'll come and do our burlap later. So for spacing, what I've done is I put 1 on each end. And then 1 in the middle on this inner smallest section. Oops. Forgot to grab 2. Okay, so there's 3 on the innermost ring. And then on the center 2 rings, I'm going to put 2. So we're staggering to get that full look. Don't want to line them up. So, all right, that next step is complete. So 1, 2, 3 here on the bottom, and then these 2 are on top. So that leaves this the last 2 rings, and on that one we're going to do 4. So that makes our 9. So we do at the edge again, at the divider. That one does not want to get on there securely for me. That's better. Okay, so 1 next to each divider. All right, so you can see there, I've got my 9 nice and staggered. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top, 2 in the middle, and then 3 on the bottom. And that's just how it's makes it have that staggered look. So when we go on to the next section, what I was saying is we're obviously not going to put another one right here to get our 9 for that section. These on the ends of the divider actually do double duty. So then we'll just move right along by putting these over here. The inner 2 rings, we just split. These we go on either side of that one for the center 2 rings. right, so there's that second section. And again, technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I added just to this section. These two make the 9 coming from this other section. So it'll be 9 and then you're adding 7 each time. So we're just going to do that all the way around the wreath. Okay, so now we have all of the pipe cleaners attached. So you can see all the way around the ring. We're ready to go. I actually prefer to do the leaves afterward, just because the pipe cleaners kind of get in the way. There's enough going on here as it is, and these little ends can be really sharp. So what I do is I like to flip the wreath over and start installing the leaves, and then that way I can tell how thickly the leaves need to go on as well, just to make sure it's nice and full and there aren't any empty spots. Okay, so the next thing we do then is we attach our burlap to the pipe cleaners. And a little trick on this is, what I found is that it's best to start on the outside and work your way in. And you want your petals are going to kind of lie on top of each other. So that's how you get that full look. So the way I do it is I've got that 5.5-inch burlap, again, cut into 6-inch strips. Found this burlap at Walmart. Love these bright colors. So I'm going to put it on diagonally or in the shape of a diamond here. And then I just gather from one end and just kind of inch my fingers along and get to that other point. So you've got what looks like a bow tie. So then we take it and attach to the outside, nice and tight. And then what I do is I kind of push from, so this is kind of, you can see how that's kind of tucked in. I push it forward, go underneath and push it up, and then just kind of bend those so that they start laying on top of each other instead of being spread out. So they're kind of stacked a bit. Okay, so just bend that down a little bit. The burlap is pretty durable, especially this kind from Walmart. It tends to be a little crispier, but you do have to be careful because these ends will fray really easily. There are ways that you can put things on the ends to keep them from fraying, but I kind of like the frayed look. And the people who buy from me tend to like some of the more rustic looks as well, so that works well for them. But I've seen people do hairspray, Mod Podge, you name it, whatever to secure the ends. So whatever works for you. But all right, we carry on. So we take the end, again, we're on a diamond, and we're just working from one corner rather, to the other. You can see I've just got that pinched there between my fingers. Not, again, nothing perfect, not an exact science, but you just want to try to pinch that together and then put your zip tie in the middle, nice and tight, couple twists, and then take your petals and kind of pull them over, get them to be start to layer. So toward the end of the burlap roll, as you guys probably know who work with burlap, you'll see some of them start to curl, and it doesn't lie flat just like these, like I want it to. But once we get everything on, those little curl pieces will be fine. It'll be nice and full because we've got so many pipe cleaners that we're attaching to. But just don't be frustrated with those curly ends. So you can see right here, for example, this is one of the inner pieces, and it's pretty curled up. All right, so we just inchworm along, and we're still on those outer two rings. Get that in there. Get those guys on top of each other a bit. Okay, so that's the fourth one on that outer section. Okay, so you can see how it's starting to take shape here. And we move to the second two, or the inner two rings. I like to come back later and snip all of these off rather than do it each time. Whatever works for you, however you like to do it. But I do like to get those out of the way. So we just scrunch it up, and now put these two in the middle. And same thing, get it out of that bow tie and into more of an overlapping style. Then those, crisscross them, and now we have our second layer. And the final innermost two rings. Okay, so we've got our 3 rows of petals complete. So here's our first section. And just kind of manipulate it a little bit, but that's the idea. So then when it lays against the door or the wall, wherever you're hanging it, it looks a lot nicer. You can see how much better that is than if I try to hold it up and they all flop. So you get the idea. You're just going to work your way all the way around the wreath and get everything nice and full, and then we will flip it over and do the leaves. Okay, so I've made it all the way around, filling in the yellow. Once I had those laid in, there were a couple of spots that I thought were a little flat, so I went and added some in, and that's just based on looking at it. The person who ordered this one wants it really full, so I just added a few in here and there, 1 or 2 in each section. So whatever fullness you like, but like I said, this was a specific order, so I made it a little fuller. It looks great just the way we did it with the 9 in each section as well. Now, the next, and I went and cut off the pipe cleaner ends, you can see. So you'll see that some of these are showing, some of these, the white pipe cleaners, not a big deal because we're going to put the center into here and you won't see any of that. So don't worry about that, it doesn't need to be perfect there. So then the next order of business is to do the leaves. So I also played around with this a bit, and my preference is to have 6 leaves in each section. So you can see where I put the 6 pipe cleaners. They're pretty close together, but I like the leaves to have a really nice layered look. So, and no gaps. So that's why those are so close together. And then if you look at it this way, you can see how nice and full that is. So no gaps there. All right, so to show you guys how I did this, I just took the green pipe cleaners, again cut in half, and attached them to these outer two rings, and then twisted it at the end. So I'm working from the back side, but because I want the leaf right here on the edge, it doesn't matter. So I've got that attached right there on those top two. So we just go along and put these on. All right. So we've got this section with 5, because again we have this one right up here close. So this is the kind of thing where you just kind of play around with it. Once you get the leaves in, if you don't like the fullness or if there are holes or gaps or whatever, you can go back and add another pipe cleaner in very easily and pop another leaf in there. So I'm just going to make my way all the way around here, attaching all of these green pipe cleaners. All right, so I've made it all the way around with the green pipe cleaners. Again, those outer two rungs and roughly inch and a quarter apart. So the next thing to do is to add all of the leaves on. So I've got the 5.5 inch burlap that I showed you before, cut into 6-inch strips again. And this one we're gonna do a little different. So we put it on the diagonal again and scrunch it up just like before, inchworming along. And then what I do is I just slide my fingers down until it pops out and looks like a shovel. So I just slid my fingers down on the bow tie so that this top part pops and looks like a shovel there. I'll show you that again. Then to install it, I just keep it pinched there and then put it on the green tie. And I just kind of have it touching this inner ring, just kind of along the same point there. So you can see how long those are. And then we can fluff it more later, but this is just to kind of spread it out. You can see how you can really cover a lot of area there if you keep them spread out. And they're gonna want to do their own thing, but once it's on the door or the wall, then it is going to be pressed up against the wall, so it should stay open. These should stay open better for you. You may have to arrange them the first time, but then they'll stay. Okay? All right, so let's see that again. Take our green burlap on the diagonal, inchworm one corner to the other, and then you can see I flipped it over just to see the leaf or the seam a little better, and then just slide my fingers down until I it pops out into a shovel type thing like this. And we're attaching it just to where the tip of the leaf on the lower part just kind of grazes the inner ring. All right, let's do that a couple more times and then we'll make our way around. So that all squished up, and then slide your fingers down just until these open up. And then you're putting the underside facing the back side of the wreath. Have it just graze that inner ring. And let's take a look. Yeah, these are nice and layered when you have that many in there. So let me show you what it's like with this pressed up against my little makeshift wall here. So we spread these out, move them around, do all that once it's done, but this gives you an idea of what it's going to look like on the wall. All right, so I will just make my way all around the wreath, doing that same thing and making my little leaf shovels and attaching them to the back. All right, so the leaves are installed all the way around. You can see it completely covers the back side here. So it gives us really nice coverage on the front. You can see how well that is filled in all around. And you'll see some curled here. And like I said, you will just straighten these out. And then once you put it up against a hard surface, they'll lay perfectly. So nice and full on the yellow and the green traveling all the way around. And then I will go back and clip all of the ties off. And then we will be ready for the next part, the middle. So some people cover the backs of theirs with felt or canvas or what have you. I don't do that, but what I do is once I clip these off, I use the hard surface of the snips and smash down the the metal part of the pipe cleaner, because you're cutting it off and the metal inside sticks straight up, so that could scratch a door or a wall. But I just smash those down and then they're perfectly smooth. So there's no pokey surface or metal surface protruding, and then that's just going to be soft against the door or wall. So we're just clipping them off and then smash it down. If you want, you could leave them on, but I'm afraid that would scratch something, whatever it's hanging on. So we will just clip and smash all the way around. All right, so all of the green pipe cleaners are trimmed up on the back, and the points are pushed down so they won't scratch anything. And our final piece then is creating the middle. So the way that I have decided to do this is using the 8-inch wreath that I mentioned to you guys earlier. So basically, if you've done a burlap wreath before with one of these floral forms, you're weaving the burlap in to each of the spots, the 3 spots here. and then you weave that in, you slide it over, and you keep going, and you end up getting, on this size wreath, you end up getting 3, to make it nice and full, 3 sets of the looped through burlap. So this is what it looks like, and you can see how nice and dense that is. You can't see here in the middle, no gaps, no holes. Once this goes into the middle of the sunflower, this will all come up, and it'll be really, really tight, and it will cover our middle hole, so we won't have any see-through areas. So if you haven't done this before, I'm going to do a couple of pieces so that you can see how it works. So where I left off here, this one has 3 sections in it, and this one only has 2, and then my roll of brown ran out. So you're picking up with me at the point where I attach a new roll. So I will show you how I do that. This is where the small zip ties come in handy. So just this short version. And you can use a pipe cleaner as well, or a piece of a pipe cleaner. And you're basically, I only have 2 here, like I said, so I'm going to slide this over to make a space. It doesn't look like much, but this stuff compacts really easily, so don't worry about that. So then what you're going to do is you put the burlap, if you've never done this kind of wreath before, you're going to put the burlap to where it's hooked on this first, or wraps around the first inner ring. And then you just take the pipe cleaner and weave it through. So the burlap on either side of that innermost ring. So nothing complicated or fancy, just trying to attach the burlap so we can pick up where we left off. So you can see where it's just going through the burlap to attach it to that ring. And it's about the midpoint of the roll of burlap that I'm attaching, just so it's not lopsided when we pull it through. So then I just cinch up with my zip tie, clip that off, get it out of my way, and then I'm back in business. So I slide that down so you can see where this is attached. And what I'm going to do is push up through the innermost ring. So I pushed that through, and it just makes a loop. So you can see there's my loop. And all that is pushed up through the bottom of that first set of rings. Okay, so I get that nice and fluffed up, probably 3 inches or so is what I'm doing, because I want it to be nice and full so it covers my middle section there. And then you got to kind of hold that in place so it doesn't slide on you. And then you just push your fingers through and get all of the width of the burlap. So both seams you should see. So you push, you can see both of the seams. I've got the whole, I think this is Hobby Lobby's brand, which I think is 6 inches. So this is a 6-inch wide piece. And you just match that up to the height of the one before it. You don't need to make it any bigger or any smaller. You're just trying to make 3 equal loops. Okay, so now we push it through our third set of rings. And you kind of have to work with it to get that seam and get it straight. And there's my third loop. See those first two under here? So let's just match those up. And that one's a little too big, so we just pull that back down. So there you can see those 3 loops. 1, 2, 3. And then you just let those stand and you slide your hand around. So this is the method that you all saw me doing with the burlap heart that we did for Valentine's Day. So this is that same thing. If you want a more detailed description of that, you can catch that wreath making on YouTube as well. And the burlap is pink and white, so it shows up a lot better against the green. You'll be able to see that in more detail. So now this is what's hanging out of the back from my 3 loops, and all you have to do is gather it and twist and twist. So just 2 twists. That's just going to hold this in place. So then get my burlap lined up, and now I'm into the next section. So I'm just going to go on the other side of the divider and pull that through. And then my twist will hold it in the back. So you can see the twists. Here's 3 in one section, for example. Just get that nice and tight so it holds it steady. And then I'm back to making my loops again. So that's the first one. Push it through the second set of rings and level it out with that one. Doesn't have to be exact, but just a general measurement of equal. And then there's my third loop. A little big, let's pull that back down. So now there's my 3 again. So then I take that and slide it around. And that's 1, and I'm doing 3 per section. So go on to the next one. We twist and twist. Straighten this out behind us and push back through the first set of rings. So we're just moving right along. Same thing over and over. Nothing changes or anything like that. Just those 3 loops. Get them about the same height, between 3.5 inches tall. And then twist a couple times, move on to the next one. So there's that. Get that? I've got my 3. Slide those down. Gather, twist, and twist. And this is the third one for this section. You got to kind of really push that over and out of your way to get the third one in. But I tried it with just 2 per section, and I assure you it does not work. It doesn't look as full, and then there are open or clear see-through spots once you put it on here. So just 3 per section on this little guy to be safe. And you can use the lighter standard color natural burlap for your center if you want. The one I showed you at the beginning of the video has that. Actually, it has the natural colored burlap with a really subtle gold fleck in it. I think I bought that at Walmart some time ago in the wedding section, actually, which is not the same exact area as the floral section where you normally find this, but it's very close to it. So be sure to check that area. They clearance out a lot of really pretty burlaps. I have another one that has lace all the way through it, and that was bought on clearance too. Not with any intention of using it for anything, but standard burlap in that natural color. Always good to have that on hand. So check that wedding section too. So there's our 3, and that's our 3rd. So just move that over a bit and gather our burlap, twist once, twist twice, and then we're on this last section, pushing that back through. It's getting kind of tight with all of this kind of bunched up. I got a very little opening here to work with, but just persist. And this is the brown burlap from Hobby Lobby. Of course, on half off. Always buy it on half off. If you're not familiar with Hobby Lobby, they alternate each week, like clockwork, the things that are going to be on sale. So there's a ton of things, and you can find it on their website or on the app. But basically, the parts that are relevant to me and the wreath making and flower arranging that I do is the burlap. This burlap with this width is considered burlap ribbon. So the ribbon, the mesh, all of the burlap ribbon, it's all half off one week, and then the next week it goes back to full price, and the floral section is half off. So your stems and naturals and things like that. Sometimes the naturals aren't on sale as well, but they alternate basically between flowers and ribbon. So you can always do that, and then you, if you have the app, or you can pull it up on the website, there is always and forever a 40% off coupon for one item. So I think most crafters probably know about that, but just in case there are some newbies trying to learn the ropes, make sure you get that on your phone and have it handy when you check out. So twist and twist. And pull that loop through, getting really tight, so you just got to work that. You want to get end to end. Don't skimp. There's the second one. And this is essentially an entire, I think, 2 rolls it's actually taken me to do this little wreath. So 2 rolls of the brown, I believe. I was surprised at how much this little guy takes up. All right, so there's my second one. Shove that over, twist and twist, and we're on our last piece, and just enough burlap. Loop, and again, almost done. It's getting really tight, so just kind of wrestle it a little. And then the final one. stuff gets in your nose, these little fibers and stuff. Okay, so our final loop. And pull that all through, and you'll see there's just a little piece that's sticking out, which is all I need to attach that zip tie. So back to another small zip tie, and we're just gonna spear it through and just grab a piece of that floral form. Clip that off, and now we have our center. So just a little 8-inch wreath frame and some burlap, and you have your center. Okay, and it's going to go right through the middle here. So I usually flip this over and then flip this over and kind of just grab that, contain that all the way around and push that through. You want to come from the back because you want those petals to stay forward. Okay, so you can see that is seated inside. Look at that, completely covers the area. So that is, the little one is now seated inside the big wreath frame. And here's where we grab our slightly longer pipe cleaners. Zip ties. You'll need 3 of those. So these are a little longer than the ones we were using. And basically you're just attaching this little guy to the big guy. So the outermost ring of the little one attaches to the innermost ring of the big one. Just loop that through right there and cinch it up. Don't pull it down too tight, otherwise it makes your middle sink in and then it's not as full and protruding on the front side. So I just kind of leave a little gap. So it's kind of loose. It's not cinched down all the way, but you just don't want to tug on that inner one. You want them to be flush. So there's one, and then do another one about here. And a third one over here. Easy peasy. I think this is so much easier than some of the other methods I saw. And I think it's just as beautiful. So unless you're doing like the rhinestone or the gemstone type things, those floral rocks, that generally I've seen with just the mesh wreaths though. So you could do it with burlap. Obviously, you creatives know that nothing is off limits, whatever you like. So then we flip back over and we have our center. So as I said, don't worry about the pipe cleaners that are showing when we finish that yellow, because look, totally covered up. And this you just kind of have to play around with a little bit and make sure that all of those pipe cleaners are covered up and that you have a nice round center. So you just kind of wiggle it around a little bit and see this is all completely full. You're not going to see anything through this. And then I just go around and pop these petals up, make it nice and full looking with all the petals up and out, because they get kind of, you can see that one right there, they get kind of caught in there, and you're just really not getting your money's worth on your burlap. So I'm just going around the whole thing and pulling out those innermost petals, just making them pop up a little bit. Makes it look much fuller. Adds a lot of fullness to the wreath just to do this, believe it or not. This one wants to go this way. All right. And I've got lots of fray to my burlap. Well, not lots, but a decent amount. And sometimes if I see random strings that are sticking out a little too much, I might grab a few of those. But like I said, my customers are more into, lately, the rustic look with all the farmhouse and country style that's going on. So we are just kind of fluffing and moving, spreading things about, making sure all the areas are covered. And cleaning it up a little bit and covering up those pipe cleaners. The petals work to cover them up as well. And that is it. We are done, you guys. So that is our sunflower wreath. And there are all different styles of this that you can do, of course. So thank you guys for watching. Happy crafting and God bless.